if I don't be clear enough.
Yeah.
Oh,
So Karita, Åkerblom represents organization of the Finnish Network of Rare Disease Association. I think this is the right version in English, or is it?
no, not actually. It's the Finnish Network for Rare Diseases. And
Finnish Network for Rare Diseases. Okay. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And in Finland, in Finnish, that's harvinaiset verkosto. So it's an informal network, but very functional. I'll talk a bit more about it later. And I guess we should start by defining what we are talking about when we are talking about rare diseases.
Yeah, Karita, you can start. There is actually a couple of students already joining. So
Okay. So
yeah, please, Karita, let's start.
Okay. So first, a couple of letters combined. What you should recognize when you see them, it's PLWRD, which means people living with rare disease. And that's because the term patient is not always very current, because you are patient only when you are at the hospital or with the clinician or physician. So in your everyday life, or when you are acting and involving, so it's preferred to use these people living with rare disease. And then when we talk about rare diseases, we talk about number that the disease is rare when it affects less than one people in 2,000 citizens. And for some reason here in Finland, we use mostly numbers 5 people in 10,000 citizens. Same but different. I don't know why we use the bigger figures. And this is a European definition by EU, and that's also now used in World Health Organization. And then today we recognize about 6,000 to 8,000 different rare diagnoses, although I just read a recent study from United States by Rare X group when they found a number of 10,867 rare diagnoses. They have a bit different way to count it. So 80% of rare diseases are genetic, and then the others are mostly rare cancers, rare allergic reactions, and rare infections. And then, just a moment, I have a bit technical problems here. So sorry.
Yes, now it.
Yes, no, it's. I lost me. So. So the recent estimation by the National Institute of Finnish Welfare, Health and Welfare is 450,000 people living with rare disease in Finland. That used to be 300,000 and 6% of population, but they have now counted the costs of special care and come to this figure. And when we talk about rare diseases in Finland, we have always remember the Finnish disease heritage. which is about 40 different diseases, which are rare hereditary disease that occur in the Finnish population in a relatively larger proportion than in other populations. And that's why it's necessary to have also Finnish research, because these diseases are not any other countries are not so interested in them because they are so rare there. It's only Finland where they are. And then in Europe, it's about 30 million people living with rare diseases, and worldwide we talk about 300 millions. And then why are we talking about rare diseases? What's so special about them? They are diseases as every other diseases, but actually no. Because of the rarity, there is no information, there is no knowledge, there is no medical expertise. And most physicians only see a small number of people with a rare disease, and that makes it difficult to build up the necessary knowledge and experience, and even to recognize the symptoms. And also the symptoms and signs vary not only from the disease to disease, but also from patient to patient. So it's not easy to do the diagnosis, to recognize what is because of the person and what is because of the disease. And then also the cooperation and knowledge across expertise areas and across countries, that is still unsystematic, and the potential for knowledge exchange still remains untapped. And because of all this, there is a diagnostic delay or misdiagnosis. And to the European studies, it seems that on average, it takes 6 to 8 years before a person with a rare disease receives the correct diagnosis. And more than 40% of rare disease patients or people living with rare disease are misdiagnosed. So that's a huge number. And if you think you have to wait about 8 years before finding out what it is question of. So it's not easy for the patients or the clinicians either. And then there is also a lack of public awareness. And that's not a big problem here in Finland or in the Nordic countries or the Western countries. But I would think about Eastern Europe and worldwide. So it means that people with rare diseases are often invisible and unrecognized, and there is nothing to build to help them. And that impacts also families, friends, the caretakers, and also the whole society. So this is a patient journey through diagnosis. It's not a very straightforward line. As you can see, it's quite a complex pathway, and this is what we want to change. This is why also registries are needed. And we should remember that no one ever chooses this path. It comes almost always as a surprise and unwanted. So what we need is a holistic view. You have to see the everyday life. You have to ask the patient, and you have to work together across borders, across expert fields, So first you have to recognize the special challenges and then hopefully make them go away. So because of all this, you can imagine here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 visits to some kind of specialists. Is it a physician, genetic counselor, or something, genetic test? So you can, and if this takes approximately 8 years, that means also costs, which is not, if we can make this a bit more, a bit more straightforward, we could also save money and reduce the human suffering. So that's why we so much talk about involvement or empowerment. In Finnish, we don't even have a proper word for this. We call it osallisuus, which is taking part of something. And this has 3 different levels. The micro level is to add personal skills and knowledge, because patients and the relatives, they have unique knowledge what is living with rare disease, and they should be involved and consulted in every stage when they visit some kind of professional. And this micro level is about strengthening them and supporting them to give their unique knowledge. Then there is this macro level on community level, which is mutual support groups, sharing information, cooperation, and this is to improve social services, quality of health, and making guidelines and tools to strengthen the patient engagement and to develop disease-specific information. And then there is always this policy level empowerment, which means that we want people living with rare disease to be recognized as a resource in development of sustainable healthcare systems. And then there are some ways how to involve people living with rare diseases. So there are many ways, but for example, in the research or registry thinking, you should also recognize that this needs people to take care of these people living with rare diseases. You have to have time. You have to have information which is suitable for them. You have to remember that they might be very ill. They might be in pain. They are not always available. They are volunteers, which means they are doing this. They might have their own job or own careers, and they are doing this to make a better world for them. So you need to have time, you need to have people doing this. And this is taken from a European Joint Program, and it's a guide to the researchers and for the patient representatives what different possibilities there are. And I have to say, I haven't heard of many projects where the people living with rare diseases are with evaluating the impact or analyzing or undertaking the project. or funding or designing something, it's usually starts with commenting. There is some document you want to ask what they think about it or something. But this is a picture, a dream, how it should be, where all the people with rare diseases should be when they are affecting on the care paths or something. And then the next step I'm going to take this is that I just told you need to have time. You need to know these people. You need to know how to implement your own work so that they can be part of it. So you don't have to do that alone. That's where the patient organizations come to the picture. And this is now the role of patient organizations. So it's usually it's here in the middle, the helping people living in the process of empowerment. When people think about patient organizations, it's always the help for the people, peer-to-peer support, counseling services, helplines, support services. But organizations do a lot more. They gather information and expertise to use in planning and evaluation. And most of them do something to raise public awareness. They advocate, they try to improve patient engagement. And in almost every organization, there are professionals, doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, therapists, some kind of other people who meet a lot of people for the rare diseases, probably more than any physician ever meets about. Well, we'll take ALS. So there are not so many doctors who meet over 10 ALS patients in their career, but an organization with muscle diseases, they probably meet almost everyone who is diseased with ALS. So now I come to the why I am here, what I'm talking about. So Finnish Network for Rare Diseases consists of 19 national umbrella organizations from a social and health factor. It is founded already in 1995, so that makes 27 years. And there is approximately 100 diagnosis-based associations under those umbrella organizations, approximately 15,000 rare people living with rare disease. We have a task to represent all the interests of all people living with rare diseases, even the ones who don't have any association or organization. We are 100% funded by Funding Center for Social Welfare and Health Organizations. And we do organize the annual Rare Disease Day campaign in Finland, which is international, led by ERDR and Rare Disease International. And on the regular basis, there are about 15 to 20 professionals meeting and trying to gather information of what's happening on the rare disease field, rare disease community in Finland. We also do international cooperation. And here are the, unfortunately, only Finnish, but these are our member organizations. So there is a UN resolution less than a year ago, and that's the first where on the UN level, worldwide level, is taken the rare diseases. So this was outcome of Rare Disease International, ERDR, and NGO Committee for Rare Diseases, which started this approximately 15 years ago. So finally, 15 years later, the resolution affirmed that addressing the needs of persons living with rare disease is essential to advancing the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. So this is quite new, and rare diseases weren't recognized even in Finland. Maybe late 80s, early 90s. Before that, physicians and genetic researchers always referred only to genetic diseases. So less than 30 years ago, they came to the conclusion that there are rare diseases which we should pay more attention to. So the UN resolution is the worldwide. What affects us more is ERDR, which we are member of, and all the initiatives have become started in European level, which also here in Finland have now implemented. So they have a mission to work across borders and diseases just to improve the lives of all persons living with rare disease. And because of EURODIS and European Union, so also in Finland is now the second national program for rare diseases. It ends in the end of the next year, and the new program or strategy is now made or is being planned. And these are the main themes: to increasing knowledge and awareness and strengthening expertise. Also strengthening of patient involvement in rare diseases and coordination of activities related of rare diseases. And there was, this is the second program. The first was followed from the recommendations about the Council of the European Union, and that was 2014 to 2017. So there were 2 years we were without a program. And this current program is made of the working group on rare diseases. And there, that's a bit exceptional on the European level because patient organizations and network of rare diseases here in Finland were involved already in planning state, and member of the Finnish Network for Rare Diseases has been editing the program. So what came after this program, the results for the first program was the definition of rare diseases. So the first common definition came 2014. Before that, in Finland, was if we talked about rare diseases, so there was no. It was the one who talked got to decide if it's rare or it's not. 2014, they made a decision to use the European definition. Then 2014, they also started research funding, a research program, which unfortunately isn't working anymore. There are some laws which make research difficult, and the funding is not only in the medical research, it's everything else also. We know here in Finland that it could be better. But also after the first program, the rare disease units were established. So in every university hospital, there is a unit for rare diseases, and there is a doctor and a coordinating nurse in all the units, and they are obligated to cooperate with also the third sector, so organizations. They have to involve patients. They have to do cooperation with international level and also national level. And then after the second program, the national coordination was established. That's on the National Health and Welfare Center, THL. Unfortunately, there is no funding. It's only at 1 year at a time. So now twice we have been advocating for the funding and asked for the parliament the funding, but it seems that still not this year. There was €0 on the budget for the national coordination. And then probably the most after the units for rare diseases, the ERN, so European Reference Networks, came to Finland. And for the moment, all the 24 ERNs are in Finland. The Helsinki University is a member in 23 of ERNs. And I think, yes, and there are some coalitions too. You probably have already, know more than me about the European reference networks, but they are virtual networks from different healthcare providers across Europe. There was you had to. Sorry, I lost the word. So they're working on rates of thematic issues, and you had to involve also patients and I'm sorry, I lost my thoughts.
No problem. Can continue.
Yes. We'll come back to the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Karita, you think that you have gone through the 16 pages?
Yes. Okay. At this point, if you have any questions, so please do. I think I can answer them, even though I can't now gather my thoughts on the presentation.
Yeah,
so
this is late evening already, and
yes,
a long day, so no wonder. So please, people, if you have questions to Karita, please.
So this is Riku. Just a very kind of basic question about the hierarchy of needs. So what would help? what is most urgently needed? Is it awareness, some type of data, or some special type of research, or a drug?
Drugs are only for a limited amount of people living with rare diseases. There are many diseases which do not need any cure or can't be cured. Most of the diagnosis can't be cured, and it's not realistic to get a drug to them. So I would say that awareness, it should be recognized also elsewhere than in the hospitals and among the clinicians, because then we can plan a wider cooperation to just change things and how they are. And then the registries would help in many ways because there is this diagnostic delay, and these people, even though they get the diagnosis, that doesn't necessarily tell them anything. It's usually a combination of something, some numbers and some letters, and nobody knows what is going to happen. What the people will need is some kind of support. They want to meet somebody who has the same disease, probably somebody who still lives, is a bit older, so they need hope, they need this kind. And because there are no registries, the clinicians don't know if there are people having the same disease some elsewhere. So so far the patient organizations have been there, and there are some genetic diseases which they know that the clinician says that, sorry, you're the only one in Finland, there is no one else, you're alone, try to cope. And then the patient finds some organization who has a contact for somebody who lives in Lapland, and the first person lives in Helsinki. And the organization can connect them, but it would have been easier if even the clinician would have the same information. He could have contacted both the other clinician and the patient and then put them all together. That would be easier, and that would reduce the diagnostic delay. So I would say awareness and registries.
Okay, thanks.
So you think that the most important thing is to first build up a community?
Yes, the community which can share all the information needed.
Yeah. And provide the shoulder first, and yeah. Okay. Any more questions?
So for the how do you see the ERNs? Because primarily, I think they are kind of a peer-to-peer support network for the doctors. But is there something similar for the patients?
Yes, there could be. And I see ERNs as a great possibility. Still, we don't know how they are going to work. We know that all the 24 are represented in Finland, but we don't know. For now, it seems they are each are working different. There is no common ways to do things. It depends on the center, the clinicians working on them, and their personalities, and that's the situation in the rare disease community for now. It's built on people, and their personalities, and their what's driving them, and there are no structure which would be common. And there's also the registry thing. If we could build something that they all have similar, so it would help. But for the moment, I think the people living with rare diseases are waiting for that ERNs could be something great. They could help. They could help for the diagnosis. They could help find even peer-to-peer support. But for the moment, there is not enough information. Not for the patients, not for the doctors, not for the other professionals. So we are still waiting.
Okay.
How does the patient find the right patient organization for them?
I would say via Google. That's the first, because when there is little information or no information at all, so they all go to the Google and try to find something. Network has approximately 400 diagnoses in Finnish. Then we have this Orphanet link in our page, but this Finnish diagnosis texts we have combined with different associations who represent those, or if it's an autonomous association, a Facebook group or something, which they have been sending us information about. So if there is a Finnish diagnosis on our page, there is always this organization, association, Facebook group. But mostly they use Google, or then they call us. We try to help them.
Okay, thanks. We just assumed that maybe the doctor would assign direct them to some kind of a patient group, patient organization, but I guess the assumption was wrong.
Yeah, that would be ideal. We would love that. That's because every association, every organization has some brochures, information on the internet. So that would be perfection if already the doctor would give something at please, I can't help you anymore, so ask them if they have something for you. But so far it's not working. For some diagnosis, maybe ALS is one example where it's even if it's rare, it's so known that there are some care pathways in Finland too. So if the doctor has an ALS patient, he probably advises him to contact this patient organization. But all the others, we would like to do the same. So that was a very good question, very good assumption.
Thank you. And thank you for answering.
So, people.
There are some success stories, like the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. They have been able to collect the data, process the data into a registry, find out the kind of biological mechanism and the kind of genetic defect that causes the disease, and they have been able to then set up this cooperation with Vertex Pharmaceuticals that has developed the drug, and now they have this kind of big foundation. that has ample resources for further research. And then, so they, in a way, they have been very successful as a disease-specific foundation. But then another thing is that in the UK, there is kind of a science project called 100,000 Genomes, where the rare disease patients who have been participating, they have had their whole genome sequenced. And then 1/4 of those participants got sort of previously a new diagnosis. So they 25% of the participants got a diagnosis, and it was kind of confirmed diagnosis. So it's not a sort of misdiagnosis. So they got really good, accurate information from participating. So I'm just wondering, do you see any kind of approach like this, in a way, increasing resources in research, like Cystic Fibrosis Foundation? They have pooled data, and they have been very successful for one particular disease. Would it be possible to scale that up to several diseases? Or would you see that the kind of more science-based approach, that there would be more sequencing, would that be scalable? Would that lead to some sort of breakthrough?
Hard to say if it's going to lead to some kind of breakthrough, but I think there are several disease groups or associations who could do the same as the cystic fibrosis, and that's they are here in Finland. They are not so. They have been quite active, but we're talking about approximately 5 to 8 very active persons who have. It's again the thing. It's not the structures. It's the people with their personal drive, their personal urge to do things. And I think there will be some other groups. I would say Huntington Disease Association is quite near also. They have no drug yet, but they do have a registry here in Finland, and
okay.
Yeah, I think it needs a systematic approach, and it's again a question of information and awareness. If the other groups would have the information and know how to do things and build up things, they probably would get further also. Hopefully.
And do you see and would you see this kind of big science projects like finding the gene that causes the disease? Would that help, or has there been kind of because that's kind of the UK approach. The UK is in a way kind of a world leader in the genomic the processing of genomic information, but I'm not seeing the same approach in many other countries. So I'm just wondering, do you see that would be helpful in some case?
I think in many cases, yes, and also in this Finnish disease heritage, which we do have. But and it was a great loss that UK left the EU. So
Yes.
Yeah, but I do think that we do need also a scientific approach, because I don't think we organizations can do so much good. We can help on the edge, but we can't make the change. We need scientific approaches to that.
Yes. There is also this idea of a course, like a basic course on rare diseases. The problem with medical faculties is that it is not part of the syllabus. Like
Yeah.
if you go to Helsinki University and you study medicine there for 6 years, there is not a single course in rare diseases. So if there was such a course, what would you like to see taught to the medical students?
The holistic view. There should be the expertise of the people living with rare diseases, because no one else knows the symptoms, how it affects your everyday life. So there should be the patients or people living with rare diseases should be involved in that. But there also the diversity is huge, so that should come in some way also. So we are talking about very different challenges, very different diseases, and I think it would be very, very, very good idea to have even that one course about rare diseases. So now if you're studying medicines at Helsinki University and you are taking genetics, genetic cancers, I think, so you might be lucky enough to meet a couple of rare patients, because there is one professor who takes them in and wants to show the holistic view. But I think it's the when we talk about rare diseases, the doctor needs to see the people and listen to the patient in a different way, and the doctor needs to admit that he or she knows very little about this disease, and he or she must be prepared to dig the information somewhere. It's not easy to find. So if you can build that kind of course, so that's good.
Yeah, that's one idea that we have been thinking about. The problem with rare diseases is that it's like a superhuman problem, that there is no single person. Like if you think about Superman, like from the if Superman was a had like super intelligence and was like Dr. House and was able to study all well 7,000 to 10,000 rare diseases and all the symptoms and know everything about them, and then was able to answer all questions, so and find solutions for each particular rare disease, then that would be great. But the problem is that there is no Dr. House, or there is no person who would be able to do that. But in a way, humans, it's like a human organization that is assisted by machine learning, and with suitable data resources could achieve that. So that could be kind of one approach. There was one thing I was thinking about ERDR. ERDR is kind of the top level organization in Europe for rare diseases. What do you see ERDR is good at, and what is it not so good at? Because they of course have also limited resources. And what is it kind of if you want to cooperate with ERDR, how should you go about it?
They are good at influencing the politicians. So I think the most input they put in influencing, and then they are also just I need to think how to put it this. But if you want to cooperate with ERDR, it would be best to do it via some member organization of them, because they have their own collaboration partners, and what it seems to me is that they don't have people enough to build new partnerships for the moment, I think. But they are very, very good at maintaining partnerships and also advocating for the rare people on the higher level. But then the communication between what should I say, not on a state level organizations. So that's what they don't have resources for the moment.
Yes. Yeah, of course, it's kind of a limited resources issue. But yes, so it's kind of a lobbying organization
Yes.
in Brussels, essentially.
Yes.
And then there was recently this report, well, some time ago, Rare 2030.
Yes.
So what would you say, what would be your vision for what would you like to have happen by the year 2030?
Well, tough question. And it's not so far away. So there is no miracles made in 7-8 years. So on international level and on EU level, the main goal is that all the countries should have a national program, a national plan for rare diseases. And here in Finland, we do have it already. So I guess for the moment, we are not getting so much from the Europe than we are kind of giving, because we are not on the same level. And yet we do know that there are many advanced countries in rare disease field. So what I would like to happen is by 2030, we would be on the same level as Germany, UK, maybe France, on the rare disease policy. So that would be a jump for Finland upwards. And the best thing would be if all the European countries would be on the same level, but that's not realistic.
Yes. Okay, very good.
I have one more quick question about the patient side.
Yes.
Is there any support organization for the people who haven't gotten their diagnosis yet? Or they're just in oblivious state of not knowing anything? and
Yeah.
no support.
Yeah. There is no organization, but regarding the national program, so the network of rare diseases has the duty to take care of them, even though we don't have to offer very much. But what we have found out is that even though you don't have a diagnosis, or you have a diagnosis which is so rare that nobody knows nothing about it, so you do have common things. It's the question of being rare, being when you go to the doctor's appointment, so you have to start telling everything from the beginning, and it starts over and over again. So yes, there are this undiagnosed.org, and there is also in Sweden there is a group, but here in Finland not. But there are Facebook groups. Yes, Facebook, I think Instagram groups, which offer the peer-to-peer support. It's the common thing you share, even though you don't have a diagnosis or diagnosis.
Okay, so some of the patients in the patient organizations are there by symptoms, not by diagnosis, actually.
Yes, because the symptoms can be similar, even though it's a different diagnosis. So.
Okay, thank you.
Then kind of sort of kind of a joke question. So if rare disease, the rare disease community was a country, it would be the world's third most populous country. So for that country, what would be the first institution that you would build? Would it be, I don't know, a bank or a library or a House of Parliament, or what would kind of be useful for rare disease land?
I would build up a library, because it's a place here in Finland, or at least the library is a place where you can find information, find books, but you can also be there, and there are this kind of things you can read about, read aloud to other people, and talk and meet people. So for the moment, I think that's what they need. They need a place to meet each other and find out that even though it's a country, very big country, so they need a feeling that they are not alone, because they mostly feel that they are alone. So I would say library.
That's very good. I think in Finland we usually build a sauna first, but in this case, library sounds like a good option.
Yeah.
All righty. So, more questions? And Riku told us a joke. So basically, are we finished? What do you guys think?
If it's the official part of the session is now over, I could use some time to ask questions if it's okay.
Okay.
I don't want to take any time from the actual session.
Okay. Then if this official part is over, I can stop the recording. And if people has things that they would like to share, we can stay here. Just an unofficial part. if that's fine. So